I'm Mary Pipino, and welcome to Fit for You, the show that teaches you how to live a healthier and more fit lifestyle. Today's show is all about golf, so you're probably wondering why I'm dressed the way that I am. It's not about playing golf or getting ready to tee off. It's about the conditioning you need to be doing behind the scenes to prepare for golf. So many people think they get out on the driving range, they get out on the putting green, and that's where the practice begins, and that's where they can really fine-tune their game. That's wonderful, but you need to be doing some exercises behind the scenes in order to be in your best condition to have your best performance on the tee and on the green. This is a very special show for me, as any show is when we talk about golf, because the person nearest and dearest to my heart, my dad, taught me the game when I was a very little girl. So I'm very happy to dedicate this show to my daddy, who passed away about 1.5 years ago. I hope you enjoy. Thank you. I'm very happy to introduce my dear friend, my Pilates instructor, and the one and only Kathi Halbert of Kathi's Dance and Gym. My God, we go back so many years.
So many years.
And you're absolutely fantastic, STOT certified in Pilates. And it was very interesting to me, the people I have spoken to about conditioning for golf that don't understand how important Pilates has become to the game. There are many professionals out there, not just in golf, but in many sports, that use Pilates to condition themselves. Probably golf, I would say, is one of the most prominent. So I gave Kath a call and I said, can you brush up on your Pilates for golf conditioning? And today's show is what we created.
Yeah, and it was something I really wanted to do. I have a couple, male clients who are golfers, and I've often thought, and STOT Pilates, of which I'm certified, absolutely has really dealt into the subject. They have 4 or 5 videos out now. They've gotten some golf experts to help them in the field. And so they've really, I'm not recreating a wheel by any means. They've done it, and they've done a good job and looking deeply into the muscles that have to be used, and they've really targeted into the games. So
we're going to be joined by Mike Ferranti, the pro at the Lake Club, in a little bit. But I think what Mike is going to explain, and why Pilates is one of the types of exercises that's really, really important, even really better than, lifting heavy weights and so on, or lifting weights, is because it gives you that toning, that length, and that strengthening of the muscle without getting a lot of bulk. And you can really focus on your core, which is where the power of the golf swing comes from. There were several tapes that they've put together for this,
They've
right?
done conditioning, warm-ups. They've really have looked at doing leveling with it, things to do at home use. But I think the thing that was so easy for them to adapt to Pilates is, you're right, it just all comes from the core. They've really worked on that stance that's involved. They worked about the whole back and lat and how strong that has to be. And just, we, like growing up as a dancer, I was always told when you move your arms, you move it from your back. Well, that obviously the golf swing is so much torso, and it was really, they've done a lot with it. And the bottom line is being strong internally and being able to really hang on. They've really focused us in areas that are really important. And also, I think conditioning for the game, and I realized this when I kind of did some research on this with you, and I'm really not a golfer, so I've actually I made my husband even take me to the driving range. I said, okay, I want to feel this, I want it's going. And going to the driving range, I think for me, I was like, the people that golf every day, they have to be one-sided muscularly. Like, if you have that one swing, you are only torquing
because you go this way, pull down,
and over and over again. So one of the things they've really have stressed is that in your conditioning, please do the opposite side. As strange as it is, they'll make you swing right and left, and it really makes sense. I just, from 2 days at the driving range, thought, oh my goodness, there is a whole set of muscles that it's going to get so overstretched, and then, so that was really interesting for me. And the importance of warm-up too was so big with them.
Well, there was so much there was so much we could choose from. So Kath and I narrowed it down, and we wanted to spend a little less time talking on today's show and a lot more time demonstrating.
Absolutely.
So we decided to do the 10-minute conditioning, which we're going to demo. Kathy's going to instruct. I'm going to be the demo person.
And I actually made Ken do it this morning. So my husband,
Ken, her husband.
Yeah, he was about ready to kill me. I go, come on, let's go. Let's try this.
Aw, fantastic. And then we're going to get into some of the level 1 conditioning exercises. So
Absolutely.
the warm-up is something you can practice and do every time before you play, and then the conditioning exercises are things that you should be putting into your exercise routine.
Right. So as we get started with the warm-up, and it's exactly that. It's not a lot of repetition. It's just a matter of kind of getting all the joints limber, really focuses. You start with breathing, shoulder girdle, a lot of hip, and getting the torso swing. Basically, that's where we're at. So,
and this is, as you noted, you have a lot of, well, some male clients that do the Pilates and have had a lot of success with it, but it's very important for men and women. This is not about, you know, a particular sex.
No,
this is really
yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah, and not to teach you a golf game, it's how to get ready. And everything that I've talked to and read and have viewed, they just talk about the importance of stretching before you go out there and start swinging.
Well, and you know what I liked? The first thing was breathing. So let's start with the breathing
I'm going to give you a club. And one of the first things with this club, I just want you to stand and about foot length apart, shoulder length apart, your feet shoulder length apart, and your hands drop down. I want you to take a big inhale and drop with your head.
Now inhale through the nose, correct?
You in through the nose, out through the mouth will be your breathing. And you really want to try to fill up in Pilates the lungs so that you really get everything circulated and get the blood going. So, but breathing through everything, holding your breath so much when we're doing something heavy, we think if you could breathe through your movements, you become so much more powerful and so much stronger.
And when I started Pilates with you many years ago, the toughest thing for me in breathing was I was used to more of like a yoga breathing. I wanted to inhale and my diaphragm would come out, and then when I exhale, my diaphragm comes in. You want that diaphragm kept tight, correct?
And I think for golf, what I'm seeing is it's so related to the Pilates because what they're doing is trying to keep the core strong. So if you're trying to hang on to your core, you can't come breathing through your stomach. You really need to hang on to that. I mean, there can be some movement, but you really want to utilize lungs and fill up the lungs. So the two are so related, and it feels like it works.
And my second biggest no, I'm like, you know, I'm always up here, and you're like, drop those shoulders.
That's because you work at a desk every day of your life, and you're at a computer, which you were the last half hour I just saw you.
Yes.
So that's exactly why, and that whole tension and to get that relaxed. So
we want shoulders down.
So you start your shoulders down, and you're going to start with your head. Take a deep breath in. Exhale and let the head roll. And not only is this good to be breathing, you're going to roll all the way down there and just let your body relax. Now with us, you know, our flexibility is decent. My husband, like, this was a killer right off the start this morning. Now from here, I want you to totally relax, feel the belly button lift up, and take another exhale. And you want to stack this and try to also talk about good alignment and come up through.
And I think I'm going to stand to the side. Explain to the viewers, Kath, and my microphone pack might be here, but explain to them, because when I'm going down, it's really important, I think, that they understand that spinal stacking.
Okay, so start up tall first and put that head rest, drop the chin. Try to put your belly button even against this shaft even more. There you go. So now we got a little imprint going, or you don't want to imprint, but you got a little better neutral. And get your weight slightly forward over the ball of your feet. Now start to leave this pole. Drop your head slowly and go. And you'll be, what we're talking and what she's talking about is the stacking, one vertebrae at a time, coming down through. Release the head more.
And explain that the breathing is supposed to...
And so now she's breathing out through the lungs. So if she could hang here a moment and just hang, and let me see you take another inhale through that lung capacity, exhale. And I'd love to see these lungs expand and contract. And then as she comes up, she leaves her head down. She's going to pull up from her belly button and try to get back onto this shaft, one vertebrae at a time. As she's continuing to exhale, she's now going to open, slide down her scaps, open up through her neck, relax her shoulders, one of our favorite things, and get that head. So just, you know, we could work on this and you would do this quickly, but we're going to give you samples of everything this really kind of set.
Yep, and
Okay.
that takes practice in itself.
In
so
itself.
and the breathing is supposed to help you connect so you can really focus and concentrate that one vertebrae at a time.
It does that. It gives power, and it also gets blood circulating. Your body needs that. That's what gets the oxygen going and gets the power going. So all very, very important. All right, so we're going to move on now to the shoulders. Really need that flexibility and strength, but you want some nice mobility in that. So we're going to start with that, just protracting and retracting, keeping those down and flat, making the lats be engaged, really engaging the rhomboids. There you go. And you would just, and in doing these, I would do like just 4 to 5 of each, and we'll kind of keep it moving. Now what we're going to try to do.
This reminds me a little bit of like a lat pull, right?
Right.
Feeling?
Well, but it's not pulling down, it's pulling back. So you're
Right.
retracting and protracting this way. So now you want to try to see if you can get one shoulder to get that in and press and pull that. So, and then you could do the other shoulder. And again, it was funny, well, not funny, I did this with Ken in about a 10-minute. It was making him do about 4 or 5 reps and kept him moving and following. So it worked out pretty well.
Well, you know what, and it's really important, like you said, do each one separately because you've got to balance that body.
Now we're going to take some shoulder rolls.
I love these.
4 each way. Trying to keep the rib cage engaged, keep the core very tight, still thinking belly button against the backbone. You can do 4 and then go the other way and engage that. Absolutely. Good.
Continuing
Good,
the
good.
breathing.
Continuing always the breathing. Take it
Okay.
up overhead. Shoulders up, and now you're going to be doing that lat pull and lat pull down. Up and stretch down. Up and stretch down. Now I'm going to have you could do just a lateral stretch where you just keep everything square, keep the hips quiet, and you can go right to left on this. And there's also a nice one that you can use where you keep that left arm straight and stretch by pulling the right elbow in. And so you get a nice big stretch over to the side.
Oh my gosh, you
And
do
come
feel
back
that.
up. Yeah, so that's a little bit more isolated, and it gives you a nice pull that elbow in and keeping everything tight. One more time. Stretch over to the right and make that work. I'm going to make sure I have everything I want to hit. I don't miss anything. Okay, so working those shoulders, keeping everything. Yeah, that's a nice one. I like that one a lot. Okay, now kind of rotation. Take and put the club head in the right hand and put right here, this way. Okay, this might be my favorite one. What you're going to do is press back, and you'll really feel you're going to open up that
All right,
pec.
wait, I'm not bending my left
You
elbow.
bend your
properly.
left elbow and press this way back and behind you, keeping your hip square front, and then come back in. So let me watch
You know what? I was dropping my elbow. You want it
you
out,
can just
right?
pull it. Yeah, whatever will push that, because this is what you're stretching. You should really feel this stretch here. So nope, stay the same side. Ready? Bend this arm in and push back. Push into that club.
Push it with my
There you go.
my
And
left
keep this
hand.
front. Now
Okay.
go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And come back front. Yeah, this is my favorite one. I just really,
So I'm
and
pushing it with my opposite hand.
right. So, and you could technically change the head clubs, but yeah, keeping everything, and you can use a torso, but even keeping that engagement of head on the ball, kind of keep that little theory, but this one you can really feel. And this is going to be really tight because you're constantly, not that you're supposed to be here, but a lot of times this is what's happening with the swing. You would hope that the lats are engaged. So this really is a nice stretch for that. Another one you can take.
That's another way you can tell if you're doing it right, if you're feeling it in the proper area.
In the proper area. Take where your club head is up, okay, and depending on how much flexibility.
All right,
this
so
one,
I have an
one
upper
up and
grip
one down.
and a down grip.
And now
Okay.
for Ken, tight in the shoulders, I had to get his grip in a little bit more. What you're doing is flipping this and trying to keep your shoulders down and stretching, and you're going to really feel a nice stretch on this.
I love
too.
it.
And pull. So again, it's just another.
Even if you're not a
way.
golfer, these are great.
Having a club in your hand or a stick or a pole really helps that resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of really feel that. Yeah. But now get your shoulder down. Pull your lat. Thank you, my dear.
Yeah.
Other side, please.
Okay. Oh, so I have to. Okay.
Yeah.
So we always want the
you're
head of the
going to
club.
pull- yeah. So now you're going to feel this stretch up and reverse. There you go. Keep it going.
See, and like that
3,
shoulder
4 of
wants
these
to
will
pull
do
up
it.
on-
Yeah. And taking your time, and when stretching, you want to kind of sit and breathe. If we really, could breathe into that.
Yeah, people make the mistake, I think, of trying to rush through.
And you would like to exhale right here would be your
Warm
exhale.
up.
And then inhale. So that would be your breathing. All right, take this and put it behind you, kind of about at the shoulders. Keep everything pulled and keeping the pretty still, and get your lateral twist. This is another one you can really feel, because you know you want to learn how to rotate off the top. So you really, really work getting that.
And you shouldn't be moving too much from the hips down,
Right.
correct? It should all be from
at least for this one, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not really assimilating a swing, but you're trying to get that whole spinal rotation going, which is really important. And another one that they've done, you cross the hand and you just leave the pole there just to have. You could get into that golf stance, which is that hinge from the hip, and just twist it, learning to keep that feel.
Now, am I tilted a little bit like I would be in a swing?
No, for this one, we're going to stay parallel.
Okay.
We're going to stay parallel just to learn to get that.
Oh, yeah.
You can really feel it in the obliques. And you want to try, be careful, a little bit of sinking in here. You don't want it to be flexion, even though we want a strong core, so we're going to work flexion today. But in this case, it's a hinge. It's
Explain flexion.
That would be your contraction of your stomach, your C curve, the old Pilates hundreds, pushing through. Yeah, so those are kind of feel like I've really got my torso going, and I've really got a lot of things. Now we're going to do something in the glutes. You do want to be strong because of that stance.
The glutes being the rear end. Yes.
Called derriere and dancing.
Yes.
All right, so you're going to stand tall, parallel, keep the shoulders back, and you're just going to bend into a squat overly beyond what you would do in your golf stance, and pull back in.
Now you want to, okay.
Yeah.
So take it out when I come down.
Yeah, just kind of feeling, stretching
And
out
pull it
through
when I come
those.
in.
Yeah, getting the back hip extenders and really getting the hip flexors to kind of do their job.
Inhale when I come down.
I would exhale because
when you come
usually
down and blow it out when you come
your
up.
rule is exhale during the thing that's going to be the hardest for you. And then if you stay in that stance, a little warm up to make sure that you're not doing this curve. Roll your hip forward, don't go quite down as far. Roll your hip forward and then go back into a neutral. You would like to feel the hinge from a neutral position and not all rolled and curved. So sometimes just doing some
to the side and explain
isolations.
that because you can see
Yeah,
better
so you
when
can
do
see
it.
from here, here's your flexion. You don't want to be imprinted and rolled, but want to stay in just a nice neutral stance. My stomach's still engaging, but I am not tucking under and hitting into that piece. Balance is another thing we want to talk about. So this is a very interesting one. We're just going to go down and then stand up and just find your balance on one foot. Doesn't have to be high.
Oh, this is so hard
Ken
for me.
was like, my husband was like, this one's too hard. I go, oh, for
It
goodness
is.
sakes. Bend down and push up. Really got to find it. If you're going to stay there, and when I yell, just engage your belly. Engage your belly. Feel that strength. Because
That's what
where
people
that
don't
strength
understand.
comes
That is
from. That's your
all
balance
core.
That's where you're balancing, and not just that, but pulling down on the lats also, Mare, and making that happen. Another very interesting one you can take here and add the torso twist with the balance, and just take that leg up. Come down.
All right, now wait. Okay.
Okay, you're going to pick the leg up, press down, and rotate and try to balance.
Oh my God, is
Press
that hard?
down.
With my flat feet,
And
it really
shifting,
makes it
and then you can pick up to,
interesting.
you pull the other side, pull to the other side. Pull the leg that's lifted. So you're here, you're going to lift your left leg, pull to the left.
Oh, I see.
Here,
Okay.
pull to the right.
Okay,
Just
so
try, give it a shot.
lift.
There you go, there you go. Yeah, can just lift it right in front. Doesn't have to be high even. The idea is to find the core and be able to twist off a balance
I gotta
center.
practice it.
Well, yeah, so that one's kind of very interesting. And then the very end of this warm-up is all about stretches. So you can have this
So
golf
by the
club.
way, don't anybody feel like you're out of shape or I can't do this, because when you start to do something, believe me, there are many things I try and I can't do initially, but you work up to it, and within a couple of weeks you become a master at it whenever you try new techniques.
I would think anything like for balance, the Bosu ball, but the thing about balance is, and people forget, engaging your back and using your core is what's going to keep you. And then a good focus. So that all just kind of makes that happen. Okay, then we do the final stretches. You would take, you want to get down forward. You have this golf club, this will be really nice. This club can help us. You're really pressing down and you come back up. So you want to really engage.
Almost like a
Get
lunge.
It is. It's a very deep lunge, getting engaged. Now we're going to reverse that, sit back into our pelvic, and of course stretch hamstring down. You can have this club to balance and really stretch down through that hamstring and sit back. I mean, all of this we're going so quickly, and it should be both sided, both legs, but if we want to get kind of introduce as much as we can to them. So you want to get your quad, you have this balance to push and do your quad stretch. This is a very, yeah, you really want to get that quad to work, get that stretched out, keeping that in, and of course you would always want to do
This always feels good.
both sides.
You know, and by the way, if
Let me see.
if you're interested in a class, a Pilates prep golf class, email us, info@thefitness.com, and Kath and I might put something together for you.
We might.
Yeah, we're going to see what kind of response we get.
All right, then there's your soleus, your calf, everything back in here. A nice one, just take that foot behind, take your knee, and press into that leg and push that. So you should be really getting a nice stretch onto the left foot is what this one's about. And you can take that stretch. So they've tried to cover it all, and this is very stot based. So your back stretch with your getting that calf really deep. If your leg is stretched, you're going to be much higher on the calf. You get, as you bend your back leg, you'll feel it drop into your soleus.
Do you want to
And keep
explain
it
a little bit
parallel.
about what STOT is, Kath? It's a type of certification.
Yeah, I mean, Pilates, there's so many Pilates. There's, you know, balance, and STOT is out of Canada. Really a nice certification. I mean, it's tough certification, but they've just done very well with research and training, and I feel that they stay on top of it all the time. And the new things that are coming out always, like this new Zenga, they're going to get the Zen and the yoga going, and
we'll be
but
doing a
it's-
show on that
I have a feeling
shortly.
I'm
We're doing
studying
it.
that next. We're
Yep.
going to do that next. So all kind of things. So you've got your ankles and any kind of, I would think, any raises, getting everything ready, and then the last but not least would be wrists, because for me, the little skinny old wrist thing, that golf, I was like, holy crap. So pulling that, getting the wrists together, we can drop down, and the last thing would be doing those hand pulls in this little stretch. So basically it's just hitting all the body parts that are involved and getting that nice little, I think for me, all the torso stretching and shoulder stretching was what I really liked. You know, the hamstrings a little bit, but I really felt that being so important.
You know, it's so funny. Like something this simple is so important to the game, but I mean, you got to have mobility
Right,
in your
and now
even
we're
in your wrist
stretching
and
out the forearm, and then here
Right.
we're making strong wrists. You know, we talk about keeping that wrist flat, and then when the wrist should break, and when it should be powerful again. So, well, at least they talk about it. I've been reading a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I might be calling you for golf lessons. My husband bought me a driver. I was like, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah, I've got this ping that is like bigger than I am. So I'm going to take your number today.
He figured it's a good starting point.
And I actually went to the driving range. I thought, if I'm going to do this, I know how to condition. I got to figure out, oh boy, you thought this balance was hard. You should see me with the club.
Yep.
It didn't go real well.
Yep.
But
Well, Mike is looking at Mike Ferranti, who's going to join us here in a second.
we might
who
have
is-
to become friends, Mike.
Yeah, the golf pro from the Lake Club. So let's bring Mike in.
Oh, please, let's.
You can't do a show about golf without the golf pro. So we got the best, Michael Ferranti from the Lake Club. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
So when we were talking about putting the show together and I asked you to chat with me for a little bit, I said, explain to me what the most important area of the body is to maximize the swing. And it is.
It's the core. It's all about the core. That's in the golf swing. The power is derived right from here and translated all the way down through the golf shot. But in the golf swing, from a fitness standpoint, your core exercises are the most important.
And why?
And that's, everybody thinks kind of you have to be strong in the hands and arms to swing a club really fast. But a lot of the power you can generate is just from your big muscles, your core muscles. And during that golf swing, there's a lot of moving parts, but this can provide so much power down your arms and through the club that you don't have to have too much in your hands and arms to get a lot of distance out of the club. So
Explain to us what happens to, like, and you have such a great swing. I'm going to stand back a little bit, but take us through the swing of exactly how the body should be working.
well, what we try to do is when we take our first backswing, it's all about kind of creating some tension, kind of like tightening up a spring, you know, just kind of create some tension on the way back, and then letting that unleash on the way through.
So what's pulling you
so
back?
when we're
I think of
turning
my
back,
hips.
Right, we start with the little hips. There's a little bit of hip movement, but then that stays stationary right here, and then the body turns from here. So there's a lot of tension right up through here. This is kind of what you're loading up.
And see,
right
I
here.
think that's really important. And Kath, because what people normally do is they want to take those hips all the way around.
Right.
Those hips
Why
stop.
that warm-up had all that torso stuff to it with the isolated.
Right.
So that it got that isolation.
Right, that keeps stability from the hips down so that you're more or less turning like right below the waist.
Correct. Correct. As this stays pretty stable, we do make some hip turn. There's a little bit of movement. That belt buckle moves just a few degrees.
Okay.
You know, but if you really let your right leg go and this really turns a lot, then you lose a lot of tension here. So there's not much to unspring and really hit the ball. So we want to kind of keep that athletic stance, you know, the feet about shoulder width apart, the standard golf stance, a little flex in your right knee, in your knees. And on that turn back, this stays, a little turn in the hips, this stays, you'll feel a lot of tension right here and up in your core right here. So when you make that good turn back, now you have all that tension that you can unleash and really drive through
Now
the
when
golf
you
ball.
unleash, take it back.
Okay.
And now when you're coming through, you're starting from, what's pulling you?
We're starting kind of, the golf swing starts from the ground up. So you work kind of from your feet on up. After you make this turn, it kind of starts to move just a little bit with your feet, legs, and your hips here, and then your torso releases. So from the bottom up, you kind of start that drive, and then you release on through.
How do you want the shoulders?
The shoulders, well, in the golf swing, we try to keep this posture throughout. Yeah, you mentioned before in kind of that stretching thing that you can kind of get into this motion where you're kind of all cramped up, but we try to keep that
just a neutral.
Keep that neutral stance, keep those shoulders square.
Not retracted, which is why you do all that to try to find the neutral.
Right, and balanced. So when you're here, we try to keep this posture position and just turn around your spine so that you're not lifting up or, you know, ducking down. And just kind of think of your spine and just rotating right around it so it moves your shoulders back and then your shoulders through.
Explain to us what you do. You were telling me a little bit about what you do for your conditioning exercises, and they really kind of tied well into what we were talking about.
Yeah, the first and foremost in the golf swing, flexibility and range of motion is really important. So when lifting and working out, we try not to build a lot of mass, more tone and strength, but not a lot of bulk. Yeah, so we still want to keep as much range of motion as we can. That's what's going to provide a lot of that tension in the swing, and without getting too kind of bulky, kind of in the chest and arm range. So really try to work the core muscles and just kind of you know, a lot of stretching exercises to keep that flexibility going.
And if you are somebody who likes to do resistance training with weights as much as I do, if you're focusing more on your golf game and you're focusing more on toning, the way you can gauge your weights is if you can get to about 18 to 20 reps your first set, maybe 15 to 18 your second set. Because normally when you're lifting for strength, like I do often, you know, I'll do my first set 10 to 12, my second set 8 to 10, and sometimes I'll do a third set of 6, you know, keep increasing my weight. So increase your weight on the second set, but if you can get to probably, you know, like 16, 17 reps, you know, the second time you can increase it a little bit. But if you can only get to 13 or 14, you probably have a little bit of too much weight.
Lighten up.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. So you work with a band.
Yeah, bands are great. You can do a lot of things with those to just kind of keep, again, work those core exercises. The ball, also a great thing to kind of work those sit-ups and stuff that we were looking at the other day. You know, really good thing to have on the ground instead of doing those crunches and stuff straight from the ground. That ball really works well. And then some free weights, you know, to just kind of work the general muscles, the arms, shoulders, backs, tries.
We're going to show you a little bit of some of the Pilates golf conditioning exercise, and then you can let us know how you like them.
Great. That sounds fantastic.
Okay, we talked about the bands, and I know you use them a lot. So, Kath, demo a couple of things you recommend with the bands, and then Mike, comment on how it relates to the game.
And any other suggestions you might have too. We're open for them. So one is all the shoulders that we talked about in the warm-up. You could do a lot of things with the shoulders, and also pressing down the lats and coming straight up, really feeling that coming. You want to make sure you isolate and then work. So much you can feel like where it's coming from. So my core is going to be holding me really tight. I'm going to press and open into a neutral position of the back. I don't want to be here and I don't want to be here. I want to be very neutral and long. You think of shoulders down and open. Open's kind of a really good word. We now go into that golf stance.
Well, and before you go any farther, I want to comment, Mike, because like you're talking about, it's not just moving your arms. the first and most important thing is you're keeping this core very steady, very focused, and you're holding those abdominals in nice and strong and tight.
Right, and not extending through the rib cage and releasing through the pelvic, trying to keep everything as a strong unit, just one strong unit. There is that golf stance we talked about that comes from the hips, where we can just work on getting a little strength in the bicep and pulling.
And you're also doing a little bit of glute work, a little
Right,
bit of
this is definitely
quad,
getting
upper thigh.
glute work, but what you would not want to see is this, where you just collapse your body in and you're sticking and you're pulling. You want to really feel the connection as you work with that.
And in order to maintain that vertical stance, you've got to have strength in the core.
Yep, that's very
Go
good.
ahead.
And it's very important, like you were showing there, to keep that spine angle the same.
The same.
Same thing
It's
in
like
the
a
golf
hinge.
swing. Yeah, I mean,
It'd be
if,
like
if
a
you're
hinge.
moving around this direction during the golf swing, you know, that's no good. So in that workout, like you said, you didn't want to move this way.
And
You don't want to
keeping
keep
things
that straight. So it's very good to practice keeping that spine angle straight throughout the movement.
And then to keep a little, there's one where you have this stability to reach and to keep everything isolated. So it's just kind of getting the body alignment and then working through so you get feel of an upper core. So there were a couple strengths like that using with the bands.
And notice her movements are slow and controlled, because there are two parts to the movement: controlling it when you
just
exert,
really
and
using
then
the right muscle part.
Right, and then controlling it when you take it back.
Because that will be the wrong thing to use. It would be all over.
Yeah.
Don't you find in the golf swing that's one of the biggest problems? People are like snapping around that club.
It is. Timing's everything. You know, getting everything in the right process is really important in the golf swing. So when you try to rush it or try to start your hands down first, it kind of throws everything else off. And similar to that, you want to find the area that you want to do and kind of work up from that. And like the golf swing, kind of work from the bottom up. If you get too fast and start throwing things out of whack, then things just don't add up to what you want. Yeah.
And you know, golf, as with so many things, is such a mind game. And so is doing, you know, these types of movements, especially Pilates. I say any exercise, but Pilates really is a mind focus too. So it's really gives you that exercise for your mind to understand how to focus that then you can carry over to the game.
Yeah.
That one where you like cross this, trying to keep your shoulders open, bend and roll into the protraction, come back up into feel yourself, realign. So this is a very interesting one because it's hard to keep that opening.
Yeah.
It had a nice little feel to it too. And then we have some stuff we can do with a single band.
Go
If you want me
ahead.
to move on?
I'll take this one.
Okay. And knowing if you have something like a band behind you, you're going to be working your front muscles. If you're working your band in front of you, you're working your back muscles. So it's kind of common sense of how that works.
Yeah, we were talking about that when we were preparing, and we're like, you know, that's such a simple thing, and it's like I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right now, if it's behind me, I'm going to be working pecs and all my fronts. And you can do in this, it could be simple shoulder. This is a great one for protraction, retraction. You can feel that happening. And you could just do your regular, you could pull, getting that feeling of pressing through. And one of my favorites on this one is using the golf stance and just learning to get that steady and just opening first of all, getting that feel the first time, and then starting to do a twist with it, keeping it still, and then opening, and then starting to do even more of but still keeping that head focused as you would. This one really, for everything that anyone has thrown me, this one feels really good.
That's really good
That
for
one's a
turn
good
too.
one.
If
Yeah.
you can get that kind of range of
Get
motion
that and
while
feeling
keeping everything square, that's
and
fantastic.
set. Yeah, I really kind of like that one.
Yeah,
That was
that's a
kind of, I
great
think,
one.
my favorite one that I had done. So anything you do from the front and then going from this way, I'm going to be working, of course, my back, my lats, so I can do things where I stretch out. And I think this is hard. Most guys, I find, just with the weights they do and everything, this is so tight. This is really, they spend so much time here and very little in extension. If we were to do a full conditioning workout, they make sure that you get to that extension part. So this one's going to be really nice to just get the full extension and pull. And then you can get it so you freeze this and just work down on the back arm. So you feel that a little more isolated. And there's even one where you can then break your wrist, pull your wrist back, and pull through. So while you're in that isolated position, you can kind of get some things happening with the wrist too, and pull. So Yeah. Any
Nice.
suggestions
That's
for me for
great.
bands? Do you have anything? I would.
Now tell us what you do. I know you work out with the bands. I don't know if you want one.
A lot of those movements, you know, everything that works, kind of shoulders, arms.
Yeah, I could even see doing all of this.
And
You know,
range.
there's all kind of things you could get it going. You know. But
There was one really good band motion that kind of works a couple of the core muscles in turn that I like to use a lot. It kind of really works the golf
You want
swing
the long
motion.
band or you want the shorter band?
Well, I can just kind of show you. I usually hook it up to somewhere about waist high. I won't go through it and stretch it. I don't have anything to hook it on, but I
So
can kind of give you the motion just from the long band.
You can hook it on me.
Yeah, if you could hold it for me.
I sure will. You want it around me?
No, I won't tense it, but just
Okay.
just to hold it at this level. One of the good ones that I had that, and I take these, and I usually either hook them if you don't have a like a bar or anything like in your workout area to hook it to, even just a doorknob, you know, like shut it into the door and just hold it somewhere around this level, waist or kind of midsection high, and from here, add a little tension to it, and then I turn, kind of get myself facing just off a little bit like this. And then I pull this motion and I'll just pull it across my body, keeping the hips facing this way and making this turn back.
Now
and then
you're
making
using
this
both
really
hands?
Turn. Yes. 2 hands stretched out like this, holding on to each other, and real straight arms.
Okay.
And then I have my hips and feet aiming out at an angle.
And you
here.
want the band at the same height as your arms, not below, I'm sorry, about shoulder, right below shoulder.
Just below shoulder height, right about kind of here, you know, I mean, just kind of out in front of you, so not from an up position. So it's all this kind of, this motion here, but keeping
Right above
both
the
those
waist.
arms, keeping those arms straight, and then just making this turn motion here.
Now how far do you
That
like
motion.
to go? I'm going to give you
Just
tension.
enough to keep, if you can get it here with some tension, so when on your way back, you
Okay.
still have some tension here and it's not, you know, totally flexed, that'll keep some tension in your body. And then from here, making this motion, keeping those arms straight, really gets this rotation action, and that's what you're going to concentrate on in the golf swing, and that's your kind of starting point on the way down, is feeling that same rotation. You're just using it from here across your body, and you really feel it good with a workout like this. With this kind of exercise, you can feel all of those muscles working in that rotation.
How many days a week do you do?
Well, the different exercise, try to get in as many as we can, but no, 5 days a week on a little program, but actions like these, I mean, anytime you can work the core, I mean.
But on average, you would say about 5 days a week
Yeah,
you're doing something?
different plans, something different each day. You know,
About how long
keep
each
it going.
day, Mike?
About an hour. I mean, it's really
that's
not
a
a
good
ton.
workout.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty to do. You know, with the stretching to begin with, to start, which is
Sure.
really important,
And
just to get
takes
ready.
time.
Yeah, and then a few of those exercises, the core one day, backs and shoulders, bis, tries. You know, I mean, just kind of run down the list, and
Reformer
cardio
has
too.
some of that on it with
Yes.
the rope. So
Yeah.
it was
Exactly.
interesting and had some things on it. So yes.
Do we
what
want
are
to get
doing?
to, before we get to the ground, do we want to do inner thigh? Because one of the things they were focusing on was the importance of the adductor.
Just making sure that the adductors are
So,
working.
want to explain the adductor versus the abductor?
Well, your adductor would be, and you talked about like not being able to like come roll out. So
Yeah.
if you had, and if you used a band like what you had, one of the best things would be that pulling of the band would be a great one for the adductor to work that and keeping stable. And what they're saying, they just want you to really feel that adductor. A good. They have those rings. Put that in between your legs while you're working. That would keep a great
Or
connection.
what
that
about a ball?
would be what, like a ball, or a ball is
Yeah.
small. Those rings would probably just be about the
Right,
right.
keep in
You
between.
know those
Yeah.
those rings, and if you had to do that whole golf stand with that adductor working, that
The ring is the
now I didn't
Pilates
even
ring.
see
Yeah.
that on
Yeah.
site. That's hey, we
See?
got one.
We got
did
one.
it. We got one.
Exactly.
We got it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But that would really, because that
Yep.
is something that is so, and adductors are hard to strengthen.
Yeah,
They're hard to
I'd say.
strengthen. The Reformer does that probably the best of anything I've done, but to kind of, so that's
or
really interesting.
an inner thigh, if you have access to machines, it's the inner thigh machine where
Sure.
you're bringing your legs
But he
together.
had just, that was the first thing he mentioned in
Yeah,
the stance. You said,
keeping
I
that-
got to
keeping
keep
that
that
locked in
leg locked
instead of
in and
going
not
back.
letting it
Yeah.
pull. And some people just don't have the strength, or they'll have a groin pull
Right. which
so
is-
quick
right,
because they
and
don't have the strength to hold that. So.
A lot of times, I mean, the daily stuff that you do in the golf swing, you start to use muscles that you're maybe not used to using all the time. So, I mean, jumping into a golf swing, we see a lot of pulled muscles from time to time.
Sure.
Because
How often
stuff
do
like
I
that.
do this all day?
Right. I mean, because it's a lot of different movement than
Must have a
that
baby.
you're used to. So, if you're not kind of working some of the muscles like
Sure.
that, you can certainly pull hamstring. The lower back's always an issue
lower
in
back's
golfers for
big.
sure. So, I mean, working again, your core and abs help keep that lower back strong too. So, I mean, there's a lot of little things that you can kind of pull swinging in the golf swing. So you got to make sure you're kind of working everything. Make sure you're on track.
I want to do some things on ground level because that's so important. It's so easy to work the areas we're talking about too when you're on the ground, not just in a vertical position. So let's go down and see what it's like on the ground.
Great.
Okay, we like to always use the club as our prop whenever we can because there's something psychological to it. Plus, it helps you with your form and doing the exercise properly. So, Kath, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely having something in your hand.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, having something in your hand really helps you engage your lats and shoulders. There's something about that being able to press down and open. So in the stance we're doing, a roll down for Pilates. You want to try to keep your feet on the floor. We're going to first start in flexion. There's two things. There's the flexion and the hinge. We're going to start in flexion because it develops the most powerful core strength.
So inflection means that we are sticking our belly button to our back, so to speak.
Exactly.
Correct? Go ahead, Kath.
And no, that's it. And you're going to, so I want you to actually feel like someone's taken your belly button, pushed it back.
And this is a lot harder than it looks.
And just go about as far as you can.
Because you've got to have complete control, and you're going one vertebrae at a time.
You'll take an inhale, exhale, again feeling the belly button push. Now right on this very beginning, we're going to keep the C curve or that rounded feeling the whole time. So we're really trying to engage one vertebrae at a time coming up. So it's really internal. So when I start here, I really want to feel the pelvic tilt and pushing through. Now,
Mike,
in this position.
Well, like we discussed before, that first turn on the way down is really kind of a starting point here from the center of your core right here. That first motion. So if you could really work that, get a feeling for what that is.
The difference with this a little bit is this one is in the C curve, which we would rather use the hinge that we're going to use later. This one's just more powerful for people. If you're not really strong in the core in the beginning, this helps you engage better and it gives you the piece to work. Now, if I'm asking for hinge, I sit up tall, I still engage my belly button to the back, and this is the perfect scenario for the golf stance. But I'm not going to roll my pelvic now. I'm going to come straight back as far as you can go without shaking. Try to get the arms up, and you're going to really feel this. And come up as a unit. So now we're talking about not so much rolling. So that first flexion roll, which is so popular in Pilates, but is more related just for the core strength.
I'm going to turn to the sides. So, Mike, you want to show them on me?
Yeah, that
because
posture,
I think
it's
the
really
difference
important.
is going from this.
Yeah, that rolling motion, keeping that back straight.
To now this.
This would be your golf stance.
Yes, that's perfect. Right now.
Yeah. Excellent. Shoulder blades a little bit connected. There you go, pressing down in the lats. Now try to engage, putting your arms over your head. This is going to be a challenge. Good.
Very good.
And back for it. And you're
Wait, I can lift my legs too, I think.
You're not supposed to.
But I can.
And you have to breathe. Yeah.
And remember to breathe.
And breathe.
Yeah,
and don't forget to breathe.
Keeping that back straight is very, very important. I mean,
So
if you
this
train
is a
yourself
great one.
into doing that, you'll see yourself. You don't have to think about it during the golf swing. There's a lot of
you
times
really
we have to remind
And that
the
posture's
players
hard for people.
It's
Now, Mary,
very
take,
hard. It's
while
hard.
you're there, do
this is all, I want people to understand, this is all this. There's nothing else holding me here. It's all this.
Core. Absolutely. So now sit up tall once. Take your hand by the club. No, other way.
You have up.
There you go, and down. And then
I
work
have an upper grip and a lower grip on the end,
and
right?
now keeping this stable, obviously it's on the floor, do that torso, keeping that left arm straight, and come right up and through.
All the way?
Just to center, because you would reverse the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, pulling, just as you bring that elbow in and stretch.
I'll tell you what,
And
you really feel this in the oblique.
This is a
That's-
really
that's-
kind of a good one.
That's the most important part.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
if you could feel that, then you'll have
know
something to
that-
relate to in the golf swing because that's where you
Shoulder
want to
down.
turn from.
Salvatore wants to be part of the
Hey,
team,
I like
of
it.
course.
I like it.
Yeah.
Hustle.
And then the idea being, even though you don't like it, you should reverse this.
I was just
so
gonna
that
say,
you want to
because-
make sure you, in the exercising, that you're stretching that opposite side, and you can work as that whole straight arm and everything that you do in the golf game and how you handle all of that.
Because that motion, I mean, it looks very familiar for that reason. That's that kind of turn motion. Not a lot of really pull with the hands and arms. You're just turning that oblique section to really start to turn your core.
Right,
That's
to
very
get
important.
And they have one, if you take a standing up position, Mare, and they take one where you're holding that club this way too, and you're in that stance, and you're just not trying to assimilate a golf swing necessarily, but that same thing.
But it's
learning how, and it is kind of, you're really working how to stretch off the top.
Right.
So
And in a
that's
motion
kind of-
like that, just seeing those shoulders rock
Now
back and
fix
forth.
me.
That
No,
was fast. That was
seriously,
really, really close. Like
I
I
close?
said, very, very
Okay,
good.
why
But in
can't I
that
hit the
position
ball?
again, go ahead. No, that's nothing. The club will do that.
Oh,
but that
okay.
motion that you did
Right
was
here.
fantastic.
And
These
keeping my
shoulders
hand?
staying on this level was very, very important. Because if these start to tilt up and you lose your spine angle, that's where it kind of causes some problems in the golf swing.
cool.
So when you're doing this exercise too, if you're keeping that spine there and the shoulders are just rotating instead of
And they're
picking
pushing
up,
up.
yeah, that's
And they have one
fantastic.
word, then you go.
Yep.
But
And
there's
see,
another one in there.
that see any type of, and when we were talking with the bands, you know, back here too, any type
That
of resistance
resistance would
that you
really
get
help
from
that.
that motion, then you'll start to feel what's pulling that club down, and it's here, and it's not your arms, it's here, and when
It's
you can,
all-
yeah, and that-
Because I have bad shoulders, and first thing Ken said to me, really, I don't think your shoulders will be affected if you're right, because if you have the strong core, he says, your shoulders shouldn't have anything to do with it. And everyone said that to me. I don't know if you can golf with your shoulders, but I didn't find any at the driving range yesterday, knowing
Yep.
not what I was doing, concentrating on what I read. Shoulders weren't involved at all.
Yeah.
So I was pretty amazed by that, actually.
Yeah,
I
when-
was, because I thought for sure, I've had surgeries on both.
yeah,
And so
there's
I was expecting
the
the
core is
worst.
the main part, drives a lot of the power, and the
this all
club
kinda goes as a
when
unit.
when the club is on its plane, when it's on where you want it, it's actually very, very balanced. I mean, there's a lot of weight out there, you know, in the club, and especially, you know, out on the end of the stick, it gets real heavy
Those
if it's
long
not in the right,
sticks.
yeah, if
Wow,
it's not
like
in the
that
right
ping
spot.
thing.
You know, it gets real heavy, and you got to lose a lot of different muscles to try to get it back online. You know, but when that club is in the right spot, it's really balanced, and you can swing it with very little tension in the hands and the arms. I mean, if you watch the guys on TV, you know, they don't have that death grip on the club. I mean, you can really make a nice, easy swing with it and create a lot of power from here rather than here.
That's the
which
first
is-
thing I got this list of things. It was a light grip.
Yep,
Light
yep.
grip was my first
Yep.
thing.
That's really hard for me because I'm used to that. You know, I learned to hold a club when I was like seriously 2, and it's like that tight.
Great, just holding on to it. That's
Yes.
And I did find if I was going to hit the ball yesterday at all, being relaxed always was a better swing for me. I really would try and just like let it go and all from here. And I'd go, oh my goodness, that went up in the air and everything. It
It's
was
a very
really
good
cool.
last-minute thought in golfers. I mean, if you talk to any golfer, there's a million swing thoughts in that half a second in your swing in golf. But if there's that last one before you take it back, it's just a little breath and relax. That'll get you on your way a lot better.
I could only
So,
think of one at a time, and that one seemed to do the best for me. I could only think head down, then
Yeah,
I try shoulders,
right.
and then I try relax. Relax seemed
Yeah.
to do the best of all of them for
Well,
me.
and I think one of the most important things too to take away from today is you've got to work each side separately, balance it out, because we have a tendency to use the right side
Sure.
because that's the way we turn with the swing. So you
Sure.
want to do the same movements on the left that
Yep.
you're doing on the right and do them separately and slow.
Yep, keep your body balanced, work both sides of those. All those exercises, just do it, you know, the other way, the other direction. That's,
Yep.
very important.
One other thing I think that's really simple too for our viewers that we were talking about, like if you have a chair, so, and because the legs are so important, and you know, if we want to work the adductor, the inner thigh, so what you can do is you want to keep your feet, and I would say kind of in a V, knees over your toes, and I'm going to stand to the side because what I want you to do is when we squat, I want you to go down and think about if you have a chair behind you. So go down to where the chair is and come up, or a bench. So take it down, but you want to go down almost where you touch and then bring it up slow and controlled, but you can't believe because if you're in a V,
For strength.
you're working your inner thigh and then you're also working your outer thigh, and you don't need, if you're using your own body weight, that's going to give you the nice toning and strength without getting a lot of bulk that you need.
Right, that's good.
There's
Really
also
good.
a good glute one that you should, because this is going to be important in the stand. So if you want to do a shoulder lift, yeah, we'll do a hip lift one. Can you lay on that? Is that?
Yep, on my back.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that
I'm
would
on my
be-
microphone, but I'm
Yeah,
good.
and all this is it instead of rolling too, it's going to hinge up. You go up to this hinge position, holding that right there, and squeezing.
Hi, Sal.
Yeah, Sal.
And so
My
you
little
really
guy.
are going to be working this hinge. Now, holding that position with no tilting of the hip, try to lift that leg up, not high.
Which
just
leg?
Right leg, tabletop it without. But you see what just happened in the hip? So you have to get, and it can be bent and come back down again. Now adjust the hip to be square. There you go. Now try to lift it, not so high, Mary, just hold that. There you go, hold that. And push back down again.
Let
And
go.
put
This
back
is
down.
hard.
This is really hard because you're still dropped right here a little bit. Put it back down. And now re-level. Okay, pull. That's it. Feel that glute
So
working.
I'm tightening my glutes.
And-
I'm
and-
pulling my glutes
and
in.
close
You
your
want my rib cage closed.
I absolutely do. Relax in the shoulders, relax in the neck. Take this just off of like 5 inches. That's it. Just feel that. Yeah. And back down again.
Now am I doing it? Am I dropping?
Good. Can you readjust it all when you're, so even that little inch, you felt that readjustment. If you can do that without any time there being a readjustment. So, and this is a good glute strength, which was kind of simulated to make sure that you're strong in the glutes.
Boy, you really have to hold your glute.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why people will say to
this
me,
keeps-
why do you still take classes if you know what to do in Pilates? Because an inch, half an inch difference in being
you
able
can
to
see
hold a
it. It's that
position
little. It
makes
certainly
all
is.
the difference.
Yeah, your technique is so important to anybody weightlifting or anything. It's so interesting. I'll look and think, if I could just move you an inch, you'll die. You know, you'll really die.
And you do.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that whole extension too, working on things that'll be this extension you still want to do, because we've done so much forward. So you'll want to make sure, again, feeling the stability, so this isn't happening. And
Are you
just doing a back extension.
Like a cobra?
Yep, just a really basic, feeling the chin, pulling down the lats, using the back,
All right.
and trying. This is so
But
late.
explain to them too, because it's coming down. Almost think of reversing one vertebrae at a time. It's not just dropping, you know.
Right. Yeah,
like
It's
push-up
really
there.
Really getting-
controlling yourself.
And kind of
down.
we've done so much flexion. So again, this is one of those just common sense
then
things.
take it up.
I want to get some extenders working here. I want to just, but shoulders. Yeah. She hates these shoulders.
I do.
And
My
then,
shoulders are always
you could go into, you're a good push-up person, is really being in that plank is so important too. That's another main core. So we have, Mary has a great, now what we'd love to do is get this a little flatter and pulled in, and taking that core, do just some half sit-up push-ups, go down. I'd love to see this stay open just a little bit more, and down and open. Yeah, she's so strong through, and really looking not so much even the arm strength that we need, is having this strength is probably, go down to the knee and then just push back out to the core. This would be like, and then just straighten back into the plank. This will be so easy for you, Mary, but this is not easy for some people.
Wow.
Just go down to the knee and push back to the plank. And then in this position, rock forward.
Should I turn to the side?
Wow.
Yeah, you could.
Let me turn to the
Sure.
side.
So
they
and then
can see.
rocking forward and back.
I'll
It's
tell you
just
what.
holding a plank, you know, just, we, of course, you know, depending on where your arms are will be the development of the push-up, but it isn't all about the arm strength. It's
No,
it
no,
isn't.
but
That isn't
how-
what this is
because
about.
that's what so many people
This
don't
one is
realize with the
about
push-up, how
connect your
important the
glute.
body is.
Yeah.
alignment.
And we still would like, this is hard to get this opening. I'd love that to be that whole flat back we talked about earlier, chin just, so this should feel like I'm laying on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm just flat to go. So, and it's interesting, they even did one on the tape where you just twist the torso and then recover it, just to find out where the placement was. So it wasn't always about a lot of push-ups. It was about trying to get this alignment, which is
And so when I'm
pretty
going
tough.
down, it should stay in alignment.
It should stay right in alignment, so as if right. And probably the head, that's just a little bit, now drop the chin. I would like that alignment just a little bit better, a little more through. She's so strong in the arms. Yeah.
This is a great exercise, just to hold this.
And you can plank from the elbows. It doesn't have to be, I
And then
mean,
you
you can
wanted
do
my
very
knees down
you can do knees
up?
and even doing in this case a push-up in the knee position is just as good for people who haven't developed that yet. And just keeping that very flat
That's keeping
and
your-
pulling
on
through
your
and
knees.
keeping this line just really not hinged at all, a little bit. Yeah. So those are all kind of things, using a lot of the bicycles
I
and
love
all
this.
that whole core
Stretch
strength
it
too. So
out.
you just go on and on, but it's all there, and you want to make sure stretching, I think, probably is really important. When I saw how unimuscled it was.
Yes,
if
yes.
that's a word.
It uses many. So, I mean, when you do that, and you have to be ready to go. I mean,
And it's
to
so
jump-
isolated.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
How
no,
much-
that was really good.
How much time do you spend stretching?
Before a round, really, as much as you can to get actually those stretches that you were doing at the beginning, right? That was really good, working a lot
All
of
of
this
that.
motion, because this is where a lot of the stretch occurs during the swing, your range of motion, all this turn up here, it's really good to get all of this loose. So, you know, warming up with, always have a club in your hand, I like that, and just working that around as many as you can, just to get as much loose as you can.
I have to say, Ken said this morning, he goes, I just go out there and swing, and after we got done, he was kind of, and after he got done, he goes, especially at my age, I should start doing this stretching thing, shouldn't I? I go, yeah,
sure.
So we'll see if we make him a believer.
Don't run from the car to the first tee. It's tough to do that. You got a lot of muscles you got to loosen up.
Everyone does.
And I hear from a lot of people.
Everyone does.
Hey, the first few holes were rough, but I really started playing good around 3, 4, 5. Well, that's when you finally got loose. You know, and you could make a full turn and things were swinging. So good to do that start, so you could start out right on the good.
There's a couple that I just love. So.
Oh yeah, those are great.
If people would like to schedule a lesson with you and to discuss even the conditioning as well as not just a particular swing, you do not have to be a member of the Lake Club, correct? They can call you at 330-549-2629.
Yep, that's the golf shop number. Just ask for me.
Ask for Michael Ferranti, and then you can get them up on the driving range or, and you know, wherever they feel comfortable with the club and give, you know, explain to them what they need to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kath and I were
I was going to say, can I officially do this right now? I've got the number.
Yes, we got a club and the golf course is right there. We can knock this out for sure. Yeah, but then, and just for the viewers too, the range of motion we always talk about, you know, is really important, and getting that turn and all this thing. And if you're sitting at home thinking, well, you know, I just can't turn that far, you know, you can still swing really, really good. We have a lot of different swings we can teach for limited range of motion. So there are a lot of golfers that have had, you know, shoulder problems and can't take it back very far. As long as the club's balanced, and that's a golf swing thing, we can get you in a spot where you can still make a good turn and really hit the ball really, really well. So you don't have to be swinging like these guys and have your shoulders wrapped around, you know, wrapped around your back to make a good golf swing. Yeah. But these will definitely help you get there. Any of these motions will help you build that flexibility, which would be great.
The other thing you have the latest, greatest equipment and different things to help people wherever their limitations are to be able to work through them and get better. And I try to tell people, like you saw me in the beginning when we were doing the warm-up, you may not get it right off the bat, but if you practice it, you will be amazed at how far you come in a week or two.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, but once you start to train your body in those areas, you'll see it recreate it very easily. The golf swing's about muscle memory. It's more of a reaction than an action. You're just training your body to do the same thing over and over again. So if we get you going in the right spot, after a little bit of time practicing, yeah, you just start working right into it, just like this exercise.
Do you video?
Absolutely.
So you'll be videoing the students, so to speak, and then they'll be able to, and you can explain.
Yep.
One more thing, because I think this is just as important. You need to fit the equipment to the player.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I know you're the master of that, because you and I are going to be working on that. Because my clubs are a little bit too light for me right now in the shaft.
Yeah, they are. They are. Because, I mean, they make a number of different options for all the different types of players. And the stock set off the shelf is kind of made for industry average. You know, if they just kind of take a group of people and kind of take the average strength and flexibility and all that, and they make a set for that. But everybody's pretty unique. So we like to get them up. We have a lot of the tools and our fitting carts that are up there. We measure the swing speed and how much load you put on the club, how much twist is in the shaft. I mean, we get kind of technical with it, but we find out what's going on during your swing, and then we can make the equipment fit for you. So.
And I think you can make a difference of 25 strokes in the game, really.
Oh, well, there's a lot to pick up, believe me. Consistency is more than anything. Everybody's going to hit the same number of tee shots and same number of second shots, but it's how consistent are you in those things, and that goes back to just recreating that swing over and over again. So training those muscles.
Muscle memory is so important.
That's it. Very important.
So important.
Michael, Kathi, thank you so much. Kathi, like we've mentioned, Kath and I would be happy to possibly think about putting a Pilates conditioning class together. It's going to be Kathi assisted by Mary, to be honest. But depending on if we get enough of a response and people are interested, so let us know. You can call us at 330-629-2992 or email us info@thefitness.com. We thank you so much for watching, and again,
thank you,
Michael
Ferranti.
I learned
so much.
Kathi Halbert,
That was
Thank
great.
you, Mary.
the Lake Club for this beautiful view, and I happen to be right here on the golf course looking out, so it's fantastic. Thank you, and I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous game.